Hello everyone, my name is Sofia Dayan Katindig Garcia and welcome to the Peaceful Classroom. The Peaceful Classroom is a dedicated space where parents, educators, and other professionals come together to talk about ideas on how to promote positivity and peace in the lives of their children and teens. In its real sense, a peaceful classroom is one where students feel safe, secure, and comfortable in their learning environment. However, there are many things happening around us which challenge even our own sense of balance, our own sense of peace. Today's episode will be about occupational or financial wellness for students. With the prevalence of economic stress caused by the pandemic, what are some ways we can do to address this? Can children be involved in finding solutions to address these economic hurdles? These are some of the questions that will be answered in this episode. We will be listening to our protagonist today, Normita Carmela S. Ariola, fondly called as Mela by many of her colleagues. She graduated from UP Diliman with a degree in BA Psychology. She has a PhD in Family Studies from Miriam College, where she has been serving for 25 years in various capacities. She is also a registered guidance counselor, licensed professional teacher, certified child play psychotherapist, and most of all, a mother of two. Let's all listen to Dr. Mela as she discusses occupational or financial wellness for students in the context of the pandemic.
Hello everyone, my name is Mela Ariola and today I will be talking to you about occupational or financial wellness for students. Now with the rise and spread of COVID-19, a significant and drastic change in our lives generated a plurality of difficulties on the psychological, social, and even economic aspects of the family. In fact, if I would recall, the first 3 months into the community lockdown due to the pandemic, my husband, who had more time to spend and nothing to pass the time with since he did not work, was able to sell fresh vegetables and fruits from the province for our neighbors. Initially, he was buying for our family's consumption, but later on, with the help of the Viber Marketplace Village Group, he was able to sell and earn a little profit. It was a good idea, I guess, while some have lamented the fact of not being able to go out for fear of getting infected. More and more people realized that they could take advantage of the opportunity to become resourceful and creative through online business. I think this is the way to go, given the loss of income and inability to meet financial demands. I guess this is the most practical alternative to survive. Now, to help us better understand the economic breakdown we are experiencing, not just as a family, but as a whole nation, let me now share some facts and figures. When the virus overwhelmed the economy, our country experienced its highest unemployment rate, with almost 8 million individuals losing their jobs. Last April, if you can recall, President Duterte imposed the Enhanced Community Quarantine, or ECQ, to contain the outbreak. This resulted in the loss of jobs, which significantly increased to 17.7%. Closing our country's borders and enforcing stay-at-home restrictions have created a big impact on companies and firms, with some of them shutting down or declaring bankruptcy. Specifically, the hardest hit sectors were in the fields of the entertainment and the arts, hotel and leisure, information, communication and technology, as well as construction industries. Despite being allowed to continue its operations during the ECQ, businesses that offer necessities such as food, utilities, medicine, services in banking and logistics had no choice but to cut down its staff by half. Now, we all know that slowly our government is trying its best to strike a balance between ensuring the public health and safety of our 107 million population of Filipinos from getting COVID-19 and saving our badly hit economy. Though recovering from this public health crisis may take longer, efforts to revive it are underway. So right now we are all on general community quarantine, which now allows malls, businesses, and services to open as it eased the lockdown. Analysis from Malaysia's financial giant Maybank predicted that our country's unemployment rate will hit 18.5% this year, which is the highest in recent years. Now, even the BPO, or the business processing outsourcing industry, which employs over 1.3 million Filipino employees and contributes about 1% of our country's GDP growth, was not spared from drastic work suspension and layoffs, which accounts to about 30 to 40% reduction of their human resources. Now, similarly, when we talk about our overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, they have also been severely and massively affected by this. The Department of Foreign Affairs reported that over 86,000 Filipino migrant workers who were forced to go back to the country now face unemployment. Having been designated as our Bagong Bayani, OFWs have always been our nation's pride as they sacrifice working abroad, away from their families, to earn better wages. Now, in total, OFWs contribute to $35.2 billion cash remittances, equivalent to 9.9% of gross domestic product. Thus, with almost 10% of the GDP under threat, the current situation burdens heavily on the country's economy, and not to mention the remittances that either complement or supplement the basic needs of their families will now be definitely slashed and will ultimately force families to look for other means to get by.
Dr. Mela shared with us the economic situation of the country under this pandemic. A lot of sectors have been affected. As mentioned by Dr. Mela, our country experienced its highest unemployment rate, with almost 8 million individuals losing their jobs. Given this, our country is yet to experience economic downturns despite the easing of restrictions by the government in the coming months. The unfortunate reality is that we are still under the pandemic, where cases are still rising every day. In line with this, the economic implications of the pandemic became an avenue for us to be resourceful in order to meet financial demands and be practical in looking for alternative ways to survive. Let's listen to Dr. Mela as she shares with us how families and individuals can break through from these economic challenges brought about by the pandemic.
Now, Now, with family income shrinking by almost half, an estimated 60% of families said that they had spent less on food, and while some had admitted to borrowing money from family and friends. Now, with the loss of income and the inability to meet the financial demands of everyday life, everyone is experiencing economic stress. Due to disruptions in the normal economic activity, family members, especially the breadwinners, feel overburdened or incapacitated. Each family is unique in the way it responds to the challenges of crisis, and their ability to bounce back from adversity will depend on how the family will deviate from its customary coping patterns and develop more productive, growth-enhancing responses to change. Now, developing the children's new talents and skills, as well as coming up with innovative businesses, such as producing colorful face masks, baking ube cheese pandesal, may be creative ways to help us manage the family economic stress. Now, aside from enhancing unity, of course, cooperation and support for each other under one roof. Now, going back to online business, I can proudly recall a college student who was part of our neighborhood Viber Marketed group. After her weekly online classes, she would bake yummy cookies, banana loaves, and refrigerator cakes for selling. Investing on her hobby and knack for baking, I can foresee her business growing into a big one, which started out small, like Mary Grace Cafe, which began in village bazaars and Christmas changes. The cafe's humble beginnings came from the owner herself, Mary Grace, who, when she was a child, was very much fascinated on how she watches the dough expands with a life on its own. Starting off with ensemadas and cheese rolls in 1994, she has now expanded to offering new recipes and yummy baked goodies for Filipino families to enjoy. Now, recalling my childhood experience, I am very grateful to my parents for allowing me to experience how to handle business. I remember how I would sell PX or imported food like bubblegum and candies to my classmates in school. I also spent summer vacations helping out in the family business. I learned how to deal with customers, prepare the products, of course, count the proper change for them. The exposure to working and doing business helped me develop a positive attitude towards my present career. Now, in reference to the 21st century skills that will help students stay competitive in a changing job market, it is developing life skills of flexibility, leadership, initiative, productivity, and social skills that will contribute to the value of personal satisfaction, enrichment, and meaning of work. This refers to the dimension of wellness called occupational wellness. The student's ability to choose their career is a very important decision they need to do in their lives, and it does not begin later, but now or even earlier. Experiencing economic difficulties during the present pandemic is a good time to explore different career options and pursue opportunities they enjoy most. When students are able to express their values through participation in occupational endeavors, then it will be truly gratifying for them. Entrepreneurship is the capacity to think creatively and ambitiously, and not only on starting a business. Young people will benefit the most by learning to think outside the box, and when faced with a problem, will generate ideas persistently to solve it. On the one hand, we may feel sorry for this generation of young students who are forced to stay at home during this worldwide health crisis. But on the other hand, this may be the best time, an opportune time for them to develop critical thinking, communication, and collaboration skills that will help them innovate products and invent their own careers. I think this is truly an exciting time to discover and launch young budding entrepreneurs.
Economic stress has been felt by a lot of people during the pandemic, and there are many unique ways shared by Dr. Mela on how families address this, such as involving the children in coming up with innovative businesses and utilizing online platforms to earn income. These types of opportunities for children to help in family businesses will hone their skills to stay competitive in the job market as described in the area of occupational wellness. To quote Dr. Mela, experiencing economic difficulties during the present pandemic is a good time to explore different career options and pursue opportunities they enjoy the most. When students are able to express their values through participation in occupational endeavors, then it will be truly gratifying for them. In the next part of this program, let's listen to her as she shares with us some tips on how to raise entrepreneurial kids.
But the question is how? How do you raise entrepreneurial kids? Cook from Forbes.com offers these simple factors as a guide and is summarized as: number 1, cultivate the mindset. Number 2, develop the skills. Number 3, see opportunities. And number 4, get to know role models. Okay, so let us discuss each factor by beginning with the first, which is to cultivate the mindset. Okay, so developing an entrepreneurial mindset involves having a good sense of one's abilities and teaches a positive attitude in approaching new situations. And as they say, old ways won't open new doors. When problems occur, entrepreneurial kids don't sulk and instead welcome it as a challenge to find solutions. If something does not work or when they make a mistake, they never stop. Instead, they stay persistent and take risks to explore other options. Okay, an example would be actor or restaurant owner Marvin Agustin, who is a person who views disruption and changes positively by believing in his ability to overcome barriers. When the lockdown happened, he had no choice but to close all his restaurants, and that was more than a dozen. At home, he used his time baking banana loaves and tried out new recipes for his family and friends. Seeing the opportunity in online business, he now earns lucratively from it. In this situation, he is grateful that it has taught him these important values: resiliency, adaptability, and the belief that change is inevitable. So the true entrepreneur is a doer, not a dreamer, and that's according to Nolan Bushnell. Now let's go to the second factor, which is to develop the skills. Okay, so every day is an opportunity to practice developing entrepreneurial skills. It can be planning for a family dinner meal or proposing a summer bake sale in the neighborhood. Pitching, negotiating, making decisions, Leading, handling customer service, creative thinking, and marketing are elements of work that need to be intentionally practiced so that it becomes second nature. Okay, so an example would be a story that I've read of a 13-year-old boy in Iowa who actually built his own tiny house. His parents supported him, though he had to be the one to raise the money, buy materials, and stay on his budget. He found solutions by bartering services from neighbors and asking reclaimed materials. His YouTube video is now inspiring other young people to pursue their dreams, no matter how difficult, and that you don't have to wait to grow old just to do it. Okay? So, entrepreneurship is neither a science nor an art, but it is a practice. This is according to Peter Drucker. Okay? So moving on to the third factor is seeing opportunities. Successful businesses begin with seeing opportunities and letting things happen. Every day, there are great ideas and inspirations for new products, businesses, and services. Successful entrepreneurs take time to study how products work, what makes customers happy, and constantly ask how to make their business offerings get better. Understanding the business all around requires an answer to the question of what can be done as part of the solution. Now, an example would be before Post-it notes became a household name, Art Fry, who was still under 3M, used reusable adhesives to attach his hymn notes in his church songbook to prevent it from being lost. He then pioneered the use of adhesives on the back of the paper so that they could be stuck and removed without leaving residue. Okay? So the entrepreneur always searches for change, responds to it, and exploits it as an opportunity. Okay? So that brings us to discussing the last factor, which is to get to know role models. Okay? So young people of today follow social media influencers who market, endorse, and promote products because of their expert knowledge or social influence in their field. To be successful entrepreneurs, they need to be introduced to entrepreneurial mentors. These role models may be someone close to them, like a parent or relative who has business interests, but more importantly, they should emulate someone who does not only get into business to make money, but to start a business to make a difference. There are many successful young entrepreneurs worthy to emulate. An example would be Julian Young, a 29-year-old drug dealer who faced a 15-year-old prison term, and he was saved by a mentor by involving him into his own business called the Start Center for Entrepreneurship. This center helps women and minorities launch their own businesses. Now, Maya Penn, who sells her own knit scarves and hats online, donates a percentage of her proceeds to nonprofits and is actually a 13-year-old speaker at TED Talks. These are some proofs that young entrepreneurs can be impactful, not just in creating opportunity and ensuring social justice, but also in stimulating the economy. Okay? So, in fact, Mohammed Hamas says that entrepreneurs are innovative, highly motivated, and critical thinkers when these attributes are combined with a drive to solve social problems. A social entrepreneur is born. Okay? So, moving on, I would like to introduce to you someone who has embodied and practiced the 4 factors, which led him to becoming one of the top businessmen in our country. He is John Goffenway Jr., a dedicated family man, a philanthropist, and the Filipino entrepreneur who founded one of the highly diversified business conglomerate that spans big countries around the region. John Goffenway's children gifted him with a children's book about his life story when he turned 85 years old to pay tribute to him, their father, the man who taught them the values of hard work, resiliency, vision, and family. Since he already passed away at 93 years old, his children would like for their own children and other children of other generations to read about him so that they will come to remember him as the young boy who lost his father at an early age and who has transcended that and other obstacles to live a life of adventure and passion. And little did we know that at 13 years old, he was forced to sell hot peanuts on the street with his mother. And this was the same time when his father passed away. And selling peanuts was his first experience as an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur who makes money by going into business, someone without a boss but works for himself. And from then on, he pursued other business ventures and continued to build his business career, always keeping his eyes open for opportunities and innovating his success. His free downloadable children's story is interesting to read because it includes practical tips for everyone to learn how to become successful in business. In fact, in one of the pages of the ebook, it tells us what we need to do to become an entrepreneur. Okay, so allow me now to read the suggestions and tips as follows. Decide who your buyers are, figure out what they want, sell them what they want at a fair price, work hard, love what you do, don't give up. The toughest challenge to being an entrepreneur is being better than the rest of your competitors by selling a product better than anyone else's. If you don't have a better product, sell the same product but at a cheaper price. If you can't give it at a cheaper price, give them something else for free, even if it's just a smile. Buyers always want a good deal, and they want good service. A happy smile is part of good service. Okay, so to end my talk, let me just say this. While we value the importance of teaching the young generation of students about lessons on business, entrepreneurship, and leadership, we must emphasize the need to produce entrepreneurs, employees and employers alike who have big dreams and big hearts to change the world and to make other people's lives better. And this very much echoes what Mahatma Gandhi said, to be the change you wish to see in the world. Thank you very much for listening.
Indeed, young people can be entrepreneurs at an early age. Their skills can be honed through the 4 tips shared by Dr. Mela on how to raise entrepreneurial kids, which are: number 1, cultivate the mindset to stay persistent and take risks to explore other options when problems occur. Number 2, develop skills. Every day is an opportunity to do this. Third, see opportunities and let things happen. And finally, get to know role models to be your mentors. Occupational wellness is equally important as the other aspects of our wellness. Hence, we can help children to start as early as now in developing entrepreneurial skills. As what the famous entrepreneur Estée Lauder said, "I never dreamed about success. I worked hard for it." Thank you very much for viewing our episode today. See you again in our sacred learning space, our peaceful classroom.